Well, welcome back, and this is Fathers of Nations. Still, we're looking in and out of this particular this work, and we are not limited to just what we had previously said about this particular text. We are doing a bit of exploration, and our exploration is going to entail a wide range of perspectives and. Among those perspectives, maybe just to mention a few, we've looked at chapter summaries, we've looked at character and characterization, we looked at thematic concerns, and what major key issues is Paul B. Vita determined to share with the audience at large. And of course, now we need to look at critical thinking aspect as far as this particular text is concerned. Now, good learners, after you've read a text, and especially an academic text like this one here, uh, of course, and when later on you're going to be maybe examining over the same, a couple of few things to note. There is going to be, of course, the reading part you've read, that is a cognitive skill. There's going to be, of course, the analysis of it. And the analysis entails the use of language, maybe what the writers have maybe deployed as far as their message is concerned, and how effective they want maybe to deliver it out to their audiences. And therefore, a set of specific collection of stylistic devices. They bring out a particular or an intended, a predetermined effect on the readers, and that is how basically writers maybe set out to stand out one writer from another, is how effective they have tailor-suited their work as far as use of language is concerned. And now here we're going to be looking at an exam prompt, an essay, and this is going to mark our essay 1 from Fathers of Nations. We're going to come up with essay 2, 3, 4, 5 from different topics and different perspectives as far as our study into these particular uncharted waters or uncharted maybe work is concerned. Now, that was too much, but again, psychologically I had to also prepare you, so to let you know that this work now henceforth is going to be we're going to be looking at different kind of perspectives on exam style prompts, and of course their model responses. Not exactly, because this is literature, so your answer is not to be ultimate, so you leave it as a suggestion. So therefore, we're going to post our model responses as our suggestions, and of course we also invite criticism and maybe here and there on what exactly would maybe be doing good, so we don't sound out as ultimate response to a particular set of exam style prompt. Without that much further ado, let's dive into it, because that was too much. African leaders a prompt will prompt you like this. African leaders are portrayed to be lacking the most important component of leadership: sacrifice for the sake of others. Citing evidence from the novel Fathers of Nations, write an essay to assert these assertion, or to assert its truth. Again, African leaders are portrayed to be lacking the most important component of leadership, that is, sacrifice for the sake of others. Citing evidence from the novel Fathers of Nations, write an essay to assert its truth. In Paul B. Vita's Fathers of Nations, African leaders are portrayed to be lacking the most important component of leadership, and that is sacrifice for the sake of others. The likes of President Bangor, newborn Walomu, the Nigerian president, among others, are some of the leaders who lack self-sacrifice. Of course, good learners, my topic sentence up there, which is a nut graph, is not supposed to be exactly again doing the prompt or the question again. But for this one here, we've decided to use it simply because we need to remind whoever that is reading our work or our maybe input that we are responding specifically to the part up there. So President Didier Bangor refuses to sacrifice his interest for other presidents to vote on the basis of one-man vote. When he was appointed a member of the Method Committee, he is supposed to come up with a way through which the other presidents are supposed to adopt way omega or way alpha. He, however, fails to convene the committee and refuses to hear any contradicting suggestions and eventually declares path alpha a must adapt. This leads to great conflict that makes the summit end unceremoniously. The Nigerian president refuses to sacrifice his reputation and Chiamaka ends up in jail. Chiamaka, a reformed traffic troublemaker, becomes a pastor who openly criticizes the government. In one of his sermons, he criticizes the Nigerian president's memo that seemed to profile some people based on their ethnicity. The president referred to the ethnic conflict as recent events, and instead of giving a solution, he seemed to offer some advice to people. The president did not take the criticism lightly and instead for Chiamaka to be jailed and be barred from preaching ever again. Therefore, failure by the president in this case to sacrifice his ego leads to suffering of Chiamaka. MP Walomu fails to sacrifice his greed for material wealth and lust, therefore taking him and his wife and later sending Kipani to jail. Having earned himself a big position and a lot of money, Walomu delights in having multiple women. He already has 3 beautiful wives, yet he goes ahead and steals Asia. Despite Kimani trying to reason with him, he refuses to have any of it. Eventually, the argument escalates, and Kimani finally loses his cool and becomes violent. The police eventually arrest the 2 men, though Professor Kimani is the biggest casualty. In this case, he is jailed for 3 months and loses his job due to Walomu's failure to shelve his interests on Asia. Tahir fails to sacrifice his interests. After the dismantling of the Feast of Allah, Engineer Tahir turns his focus on having himself a woman as a way of diverting his passion. He falls in love with one of his juniors that worked in the same weapons factory. He realizes that she was beautiful enough. He, however, approaches her and expects an affirmative answer immediately. When the answer is contrary to his expectations, Tahir fails to sacrifice his interest and harbors a grudge against Mrs. Muhammad. He slaps her and she retaliates by hitting back. He loses his eye and makes Rahma lose hers too. This predicament is as a result of failure by Tahir to shelve his interest on Miss Mahmoud. In conclusion, if people fail to sacrifice their interests when need be, it may lead to not only suffering by the said individual, but also by others. And that, good learners, marks the end of a very good, abrupt, not really abrupt, but a very cozy approach, a perspective that I'm giving it, an open end. You might also come up with an idea, and no, not a perspective rather in this particular context, because I had already said that this is literature. You don't want to be spreading rumors. And as far as this particular worker is concerned, that particular point, indeed, it is very evident and very clear that leaders, especially the African leaders, they fail to sacrifice their interest for the sake of a bigger picture, and that is maybe the state's development, the nation's development, and even the welfare of its citizens at a very local level. Successfully, after you've read that particular novel, you realize that one is coming out evidently by their behaviors, by their conducts, by how they, a series of activities that unravel from the beginning until the end. And this would be an adios for now. Cheers till we meet next time round.